Hi everyone, welcome to this update video. I wanted to tell you guys what's been going on with me and my projects. So in the last update video, I talked about how I was going to be working on the warm tree, how the project was going to be 50,000 words, including 2 roots of 20,000 words, one for Alkea and one for Twilight, plus a common root of 10,000 words, and how I wanted the entire project to have all CGs. So after I released that video, I was just thinking about what I wanted and how frequently I wanted to release visual novels, because I would like to release visual novels fairly frequently, but at the same time, probably 50,000 words for a visual novel that's all CGs, that probably would be pretty intense, especially if I was trying to release like 3 or 4 a year. That would be probably a little bit too cramped. So, what I was thinking is, I was already planning on having each of the girls' roots be 20,000 words anyway, and I had already released a visual novel called A Lily from the Lightless Water, which was also around 20,000 words. Um, so I just figured, hey, instead of working on a 50,000 word game that has multiple love interests, 2 love interests, I could instead just do one love interest at a time, sort of thing. So then I started doing a little bit of artwork for Alkea's route, like Alkea's dedicated visual novel. I don't quite have this picture done yet, but I wanted to show it to you as proof that I have been working on it a little bit. But the only reason I've been working on it only a little bit is because after sort of reworking everything so that it would be like, okay, I'm going to be focusing on Alkea with this text that I have already written, a lot of the text kind of got edited out. So it essentially got cut in half, the 10,000 words that I had already written for the previously established common root, right? So I had around 5,000 to 6,000, and I was thinking, hey, I have this other project that I'm working on called Submerged Lights, which I have talked about before on the channel, but basically it was a project that was in flux for a while because I didn't quite know how many love interests it was going to have. It started off with just Etheria being a love interest, the fairy, and then it was Etheria and Cephizru, the mermaid, and then it was Etheria, Cephizru, and Galena, another fairy, and then it was Etheria, Cephizru, Galena, Coriander, and Olive. Um, and I had written the 50,000 word common root. And the idea was that it would be a 50,000 word common root, and then each of the 5 love interests would have a 50,000 word root for a total of a 300,000 word visual novel. Well, for a while I was experimenting with like shortening the project to focus on like fewer love interests. So I like made a copy of the project and I was like, okay, what if it's just focusing on the first 3, Etheria, Cephizru, and Galena? And then I was like, okay, well, maybe it could just focus on Etheria and Cephizru. And then I realized it's like, okay, this was right around the time when, like, after editing it to, like, focus on Etheria and Cephizru, was around the time that I was like, oh, maybe I should focus on making 20,000 word visual novels, each dedicated to their own love interest, as I just said earlier in the video, right? So I realized that it's like, hold on, this is a lot of preamble, but I kind of just want you guys to know what happened, right? So while I was looking at this project that was around 5 or 6 thousand words long at the moment, I was looking at this other project that I had written that was focused on two love interests, mainly just one, with the other one being a support character largely. And I was like, okay, well, and that project was at like a little over 18,000. And I was like, I could literally just, like, it's already a lot of it is focused on the one love interest. I could edit it a little bit so that it all focuses on her, with the other love interest playing a support role. And then I could just, like, add a few thousand words, literally like 2,000 words or so, maybe 3,000 words, and there you go. Then it would all be written. So that's what I did. So I switched my production, and I have that entire thing written now. And the reason that I only have one picture half done for the warm tree, focusing on Alkea, is because I switched production to this visual novel, focusing on Etheria, the fairy, in Submerged Lights, and now I have 4 pictures done for that game, for Etheria's game. So I have Etheria, like a CG of you meeting Etheria, a CG of you meeting Sephizru, the mermaid, a generic picture of water, which it's always sort of fun doing like water or clouds or something for me. It's really fun and fast and looks good. So yeah, I have a picture of water, and I also have a picture of the inside of Sephizru's journal, because when you first meet her, she tries to communicate with you through text because she's not used to speaking the language, even though she's used to reading the language, because you meet her in the library, you see. So you could argue that these aren't all CGs, and I totally get that. Especially the book thing is like, it's sort of just like a close up on an item. It's not really like a CG per se. But what I mean by all CGs isn't necessarily that there are no backgrounds or that there are no items or whatever. What I mean is that there are no sprites. Anytime I want to depict anyone, I want it to be a CG of them, right? Uh, and if it's a background, it can be like a more cinematic angle if I want, or it could just be like a normal background or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm working on this project. And honestly, like sometimes I think that I need to do so much more work than I do. And it's just sort of liberating to know that it's like, hey, if I literally aim for doing like one picture every work day, I'll have like, as far as I'm concerned, if I can complete one of these projects in like 3 months or so, that's a good pace. And like, I've been doing a little bit of practice, and my art style isn't the most refined and it doesn't take the most time. I'm wanting to make it look good, but I just like drawing the way that I like drawing. It's a little bit of a balancing act where it's like I do like improving, but at the same time I do like my style. I don't want to use that as a crutch to not improve, but I also do like uh the art that I like. You know what I mean? To the point where if I change that too much for the sake of quote unquote improving as an artist, like I might just end up doing art that I don't like because I like my style. So that's totally fine. I should focus on doing stuff in my style well. And I've been noticing that doing like one picture a day is actually like pretty easy, to the point where it's like, look, if I assume that every month has 20 work days in it, right? Like 20 business days, 20 weekdays, whatever, and it's 3 months, like assuming it's like 60 days total, doing a picture a day is not that big of a deal. I don't know how many CGs this is going to be. I don't really want to count too much, but I don't see it being more than 60 realistically. I think it'll probably be, between like probably somewhere around 50, maybe 60, but I feel like that'd be pushing it a little bit. But yeah. So like literally if I just focus on doing one piece a day, I could literally even in a future project, I know I always do this sort of thing where I have something that I feel works in the moment and then I speculate to how it would work going forward in the future. But say I were to start a new project after I'm finished this one using this exact model, right? So it literally I could just be like doing a drawing a day is not that big of a deal, and it's a slow and steady pace, and then at the end I have all the pictures that I need. I could literally just like writing 1,000 words also isn't that big of a deal. I could probably just like have days where it's like 20 days I like write 1,000 words and then do a picture, right? And then like just gradually it's like, oh look, the writing's done. Instead of doing the writing because the writing's done, I'll just do some of the music. And then after the music's done, I'll like do my best to like polish the assembly or the editing or whatever. And then it's just like, well, I might as well work on the Steam page. I've got like all this extra time. And then I just feel like it'll get done. And I don't know, it just seems cool. And it might not be released in like strictly speaking 60 days, or the production cycle might not be finished in 60 days, but I feel like it would be somewhere around there, and I feel like that's cool. And anyway, yeah, I'm just sort of sharing my process with you guys. So yeah, the writing is done and 4 of the pictures are done. I know one of the pictures is just a book, but still 4 pictures are done. um And yeah, I'm just gonna keep on sort of trucking away at it. And I hope to have this finished sometime soon. It will probably realistically come out in January on Steam. It will probably be done a little bit before that. But the release might take a little bit of time. I'm not going to commit to the idea of releasing it in January though, because as far as I understand, um, games on Steam tend to have a better shot if they have a good number of wish lists, sort of thing. So I might push back the release a little bit. I'm still sort of feeling out Steam. I don't quite know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm getting more of a handle on it. But I might delay the release a little bit so that I can kind of advertise it a bit more on Instagram or something like that and kind of try to get the number of wish lists up, so that it has like more of a shot of being seen by the Steam algorithm and recommended to more people. Um, but it will be, I think the production of this visual novel with Etheria will be done sometime this year, or at the latest like early to mid January of next year. And I already have all these other ideas and all these other stories in my head and partially on paper. And frankly, I feel like, if this works, I think this would be cool. I like CGs. They're like bite sized. I feel like maybe it's something a little bit different. And if I just sort of commit to the idea of like releasing one of these roughly every 3 months, then that would be cool. And it could be something that, my audience would like grow to look forward to. Like, it's like, oh, it's around this time of year. Here's going to be the next release. sort of thing. I'm kind of brainstorming out loud to you guys. I don't know what the future holds, but I like sharing my process with you guys. Don't take everything I'm saying as gospel, but yes, I am thinking that this will be released in uh, January, maybe February at the latest. So yeah. Oh, another thing I want to tell you guys. So this is the CG of Etheria, and I want to disambiguate a little bit. So on this channel, there is a video or two of me speed drawing a fairy in a very, very similar situation. And she looks very similar. And her name is even Etheria. So I want to just tell you guys what's up with this. Why'd I seem to draw the same thing again, basically, right? So the situation before with that CG that I did the speed painting of, that was me taking a look at this setting that I'm in now, the submerged light setting, and attempting to make a slightly different version of it because I felt like some aspects of submerged lights were a little bit undesirable or a little bit tricky to work around. And I just wanted to take a basic concept that was in submerged lights, for example, the fairies and the lantern and like the flooding, and kind of just put it in a different setting. But like as I went forward, I realized that I actually like submerged lights more, and I'm more attached to it, and there's more that I can do with it, in my opinion, and that the new setting that I was trying to build, that was like meant to be an improvement, just sort of felt a little bit weaker to me. So that is to all I'm trying to say here is that these two pictures look very similar, but they are actually different. Uh, you can tell because a really easy way to tell is that the Etheria from the old project that I have now abandoned, at least for the time being, her lantern is like square and opaque. And the idea is that anyone would have been able to see her. So the glass of her lantern was meant to be like foggy to the point where no one could see her, but she would still give off light as a lantern. Also, it was square, which at some point, with submerged lights, the main character is like sawing some of these lanterns open on a table, and he has to like put them on their sides, and they can roll off because they're rounded. Uh, so there are some differences. Also, yeah, probably not super interesting to you guys, but yeah, they're different characters. I may at some point return to the idea of the sort of alternate version of this project, which I have called Lanterns and Rising Water. But at present, Lanterns and Rising Water doesn't have enough unique DNA to set it apart from um, the other one, the submerged lights. It doesn't. There's not enough of a distinction, and so I'm just focusing on submerged lights. If I am going to ever return to Lanterns and Rising Water as like a setting, I do think it has some interesting aspects going on with it, but I'll need to change it up quite a bit so that it'll be its own project, and so that my viewers don't assume that I'm just sort of releasing the same project twice, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's what's going on. Um, Thanks for listening, you guys. I just sort of wanted to share my progress and my train of thought and stuff with you guys. And yeah, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next update video. Take care.